Hey, what's going on, guys? I'm going to be changing the water pump and thermostat on my 2010 E91 328i with xDrive. So the process is a little bit more complicated just because there's more in the way. Before we dive into it, I'm going to have to remove the radiator fan, which is just a couple screws and undoing a couple clamps from the top, and then there's one screw on the bottom. So I'm going to do all that before I lift the car. As you can see behind me, kind of in the middle of replacing my valve cover gasket as well as my eccentric sensor. The motor's kind of just torn apart right now because I'm waiting on some parts, but it's going to be a week before I get those parts, so I figure I might as well get some other maintenance done while I'm at it. So let's do it. First thing we got to do is remove the radiator fan. So what that involves is just taking off this guy right here, which is held on by two Torx T20 screws. So then we'll be able to remove this duct once we undo those screws, and we should have access to the fan. Alright, with those screws out of the way, I should be able to get this ducting out of the way here. Where's this connected? Oh, it's right up here. So there's some tabs right here on the intake box that you gotta kind of push out of the way. That's now out of the way. So with that removed, we now have access to the fan harness. So we're going to disconnect this so there's no power to the fan. And my battery's already disconnected, but so it's not a big deal. And then we will have to unclip the expansion tank overflow hose. So mine's already disconnected from the coolant reservoir. But you don't really have to do that. Again, it's just taken apart for the other work that I'm doing. So right here, there's a clip here holding this hard pipe right here, and then right over here, there's another clip. So I'm just gonna pop these clips off, or pop the hard line off real quick. Boom. There's that. Okay. Hard line is unclipped. Alright, so to unplug the wire harness, you just basically click on those two tabs right there, and then also on this side, and it just pulls free. So you can kind of tuck this guy out of the way for now. Okay, so on this car, there's really nothing else attached to the shroud. Probably do need to take this clamp off for the expansion tank overflow hose, just to make a little more room. I don't think I really need it, but it'll probably get in the way of things, especially on reinstall, so I'll probably remove that. It's got one of those Oetiker clamps, whatever they're called, sort of what they have on CV axle boots. So I'll just kind of rip that off, and then there should be one Torx screw right there. I think it's another T20. Let me verify that. I think it's a T25 actually. Yeah, so once you get that screw off, there's one more screw underneath, and we'll have to undo some of the panels on the bumper, and should be able to lift that shroud right out. Go ahead and get this hose clamp off. So I'm basically just going to stick a small screwdriver in here and then just kind of pry at it. Try to widen it up. Okay. Clamp is free, so I'm just going to pry it open a little bit more. Try to get this hose free. Give it a couple wiggles. So yeah, this is one of those Oetiker clamps. Yeah, so they basically, this would actually be like this. Goes around the hose, and it would hit this last tooth, and then this gets crushed, and it basically tightens it up. But I'm gonna basically replace it with a normal hose clamp. So those are kind of one-time use anyway. Okay, so let's get this overflow hose off of this nipple. This nipple is supposedly really fragile, so I'm going to try not to break it. Give it a few twists. Oh, shit. Okay. There goes coolant. Dripping everywhere, so I'm going to take this out. So this is basically just a smaller version of the hoses that you're going to be taking apart on the water pump as well as the thermostat. So you basically just have this little metal clip that goes around the perimeter of the plastic fitting, and you can see on the sides where there's the end of the clip. Basically all you have to do is just stick a screwdriver in the top portion of the fitting and you lift up. So when you lift up, you'll see the rest of the wire clip has pulled up and into these slots that are further up. So let's go ahead and push it down again, just like so, and we'll pull it back up because we got to put it back on. So yeah, so they're super easy to use. But yeah, like I said, this is just a smaller version of what you're going to be taking apart on the water pump and the thermostat. Okay, I've got my Torx T25 driver. Just going to undo this little bolt on the radiator shroud. It's on the top corner, can't miss it. Screws out now. Okay, so now all I have to do is lift up the car and undo a couple panels. Okay, so I got the car lifted up. So basically what I got to do is remove this panel right here. There should be, I think these are 8mm screws. There should be, I think like 8 of them or something. Just a handful. So I got like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 over there. 1 in the center, 6, 7 right there. Maybe it's a few more, but just whatever's on the other side. Now the belly pan is loose. I don't know where I'm going to put it. So I'm going to pull this little shroud cover off here. On some cars there is another screw here that's holding stuff together, but it looks like I should be able to just lift this guy right out. So I guess I'll just go ahead and lift that shroud out, I guess. So you can also kind of see here, maybe, here's the water pump and the thermostat as well. So in order to gain access to it, all I'm going to do is, once I pull out the radiator fan, I'm going to undo these this power steering line bracket, followed by moving this coolant hose right here. There's some bolts right here that hold it to the subframe. Little plastic hose. And then I'm also going to drop the sway bar down, and that should give me enough space, hopefully. So let's see if I can get this shroud out of the way now. Or sorry, this radiator fan out. There are some tabs and stuff that are along the radiator that basically just kind of sit inside. You'll be able to see it. So there is a tab on this side, and it basically you just have to push on the tab towards the back of the car. You got to push it pretty hard in order to unclip it from the radiator. Like I said, it might be easier with a screwdriver, because you also have to simultaneously lift up on the shroud itself. That side's clear, and there you go. Radiator fan is out. It's quite a bit heavier than my E36 fan. But yeah, there's the main lower radiator hose kind of gets in the way. It gets snagged on these tabs. So yeah, kind of just gotta watch that. Here's that tab that I was talking about. So yeah, you basically have to pull this tab towards the back of the car, because this is facing the back of the car, right? So you pull this towards, away from you, basically, or push it, and then it's kind of, there's another tab here that kind of locks it into the actual radiator housing. So if you can see these, this power steering line bracket, there's some, I think they're 10mm nuts. So you basically have to take a wrench to these like rubber bushings, and they have, I guess they have a threaded rod through them, and there's nuts on both sides of these. There's a nut up here, up top, where I'm kind of sticking my hand. It's over the sway bar. That nut holds the entire bracket in place. So I probably don't necessarily have to undo these little guys, but I probably will. Because if I undo these three guys, then I should be able to move the line out of the way, and then I should be able to get the 10mm wrench up there to get the actual mounting bracket bolt off. So let's go ahead and do that. Okay. Alright, so these little rubber things are 22mm. Let's crack these free. Oh! God, holy shit. Jesus, how the f did that happen? Oh. Okay, so with all three things loose, you can now remove the power steering line. So with that out of the way, now I have to access the 10mm nut up here. Unfortunately, I don't have a 10mm ratcheting wrench, so I'm just gonna have to make do with my regular 10mm box end wrench. So it's hard to see, but it is right up in here, right above the bracket. So I'm gonna pop this guy loose. Okay. Okay, so now that I got the 10mm bolt out, the bracket is now loose. However, I can't get it out because the sway bar is in the way. So I'm gonna have to loosen this coolant pipe, which is held on by two 10mm bolts right here and right here. So I'm gonna loosen this, and then I'll get the sway bar out of the way, and that should be a 13mm. Alright, let's get this coolant pipe out of the way. There's another bolt up here, if you can see it, and I'll probably, let's get this guy out of the way too, just so the pipe is loosened. Alright, now that that is loose, so now I should got quite a bit more slack on here. So, and I'll be undoing this hose as well to get that out of the way, but let's go ahead and zip these 13mm sway bar bolts off. Okay, sway bar is now loose. Let's get this power steering bracket out of the way. Okay, got that. So here you can see where the top bolt is. It's just sits on top of the subframe. So it's right there. Well, you can see it. So let's get this sway bar out of the way. Let it kind of just drop. Okay, so there it is. So that can just hang right there, out of the way. So now you can see we have access to the water pump and all the harnesses. So let's go ahead and unplug the harnesses. So there's a tab on the bottom I should be able to just pull out, and I cannot. There we go. Got a few wiggles. There we go, it's coming. Okay. Water pump harness is out. For the thermostat plug, it's up here. Hopefully you can kind of see right here. But you just kind of have to take a flat head and lift up on it a little bit. You should be able to pull that guy out. Maybe. Okay. Alright, thermostat is free. I don't know if you can see, but there's also a little clip on the bottom of the water pump that's holding this harness on, so I'm just gonna push that out of the way as well. Okay, so now this should be free to disconnect. There's a ground over here that I could take off, but I might just leave it and just kind of set this stuff aside over here and try not to spill any coolant on it. I'm gonna go ahead and zip tie this these power steering lines just up to the top, just to get it out of the way, and so one less thing that'll get covered in coolant. So here we have the thermostat on the left, water pump on the right. So those two bolts right in the center, basically I'm going to be, or those hold the thermostat to the water pump, and they're two 10mm bolts, so I'll be unbolting that and then start removing some of these hoses. We've got this big hose right here, and it's basically got just a giant version of the clamp on the coolant reservoir. There's basically a clip that you can access on the top part of it, and if you just pull it up, as you can see, there's a little wire from the little clamp. So once you pull from this center, I'll get a better picture of it later. You just stick a screwdriver and lift up, and this should lift up until it locks into place on the second hole. So you got that guy, and then you also have this guy right here, same type of clamp. So you've got those two hoses right here, and then you also have two hoses in back right here. So we're facing the wheel. This is a tie rod right here. Part of the control arm. It's a little dinky control arm, huh? And then the axles right here. Right here. You can see right through the subframe, kind of. Maybe right here. Hard to see. Move my light a little bit. So right here you can see there's two hose clamps. One is right there in the center, and then another one right above it. Okay, so here's the front of the thermostat again, and you can see you can kind of see the top of my hose clamp right here, where my finger's pointing. Yeah, right there. So should hopefully be able to access that guy through there. So this is gonna be a pain, and it's gonna get messy. So let's do it. So I got my screwdriver in this upper hose, and like I said, there's just a clip or a little slot there you can stick your screwdriver in, and if you press up on that clip, it'll move. And so you just got to get it into this upper position right here, kind of, and it should lock in place. If you get it right there, you go. So that's locked in place. So I should be able to just wiggle that hose off now. I don't understand. Oh, fuck. There it is. Did not expect for that to happen. Just kind of let it drip out as much as I can. So yeah, once you move that clip, you just kind of have to pry at it a little bit. Okay, so I got this big pipe off. So now I'm gonna try and get that smaller pipe off above it, which is basically the same thing for the most part. There we go. Okay, there's that one. That's off. Now it's time to work on the hose clamps, which are gonna be a pain in the ass. This one's accessible right here though, so that's good. I'm sorry if it's a little hard to see, guys. It's very tight in here. But yeah, I'm just loosening this hose clamp real quick. Okay. That clamp should be loosened. Okay, that clamp is loose. And then now let's work on this back one. Alright, for this one I got a little wobble socket. Hopefully I can get to it here. Yeah, I think I'm definitely gonna have to take the wheel off during install, and I'll have to get it that way. Okay, that's loosened up quite a bit. So let's go ahead and get these 10mm bolts on the thermostat and pop those guys off. Okay. So these should be pretty easy to get off, a pretty light torque. Okay. That's off. Okay, should be able to twist those by hand now. Okay, thermostat, second bolt. Thermostat should be loose enough. Pull out. Okay. Should be able to wiggle this guy off. Okay, there it is. And I should be able to hopefully pop these other hoses that are on the back side off. Should be able to wiggle this guy off. Okay, there it is. And I should be able to hopefully pop these other hoses that are on the back side off. So I'm just gonna try and push this hose off, which I think I got. I got it to move a little bit. Okay, here it is. Oh. There's the waterworks. Man, I wish I did this outside. Okay. That's the bottom hose. Let's try to push this front hose out. Okay, so now I have access to the front hose. A little more access, so let's try and push this off a little bit more. So hopefully you can kind of see, but I've got more access to this upper hose now. So on reinstall, I'm going to do the upper hose first, then the bottom. Okay, it's free. Oh, God damn it. Just poured it all over myself. Alright, well, here's the thermostat. Now with the thermostat out, I have access to the all the hoses and the clamps. And then there's the upper hose, which is in a terrible, terrible, terrible spot. That's on the water pump itself. I have no idea how I'm gonna get to this guy. So as you can see, right above that lower thermostat hose is the water pump hose. Right there. So if you can't tell, the hose clamp is basically facing downwards, and it's going to be a pain in the ass to get off, but probably just going to use a 1/4-inch ratchet and just slowly but surely wiggle it off. But yeah, once I remove that hose, I should be able to take off the 3 water pump bolts. There's 1 bolt here, 1 bolt here, 1 bolt right up here, I believe. These 3 water pump bolts, they're Torx, reverse Torx E12. Right there. E12s. Remember guys, these are non-reusable bolts, so your water pump should have came with them. Okay, second bolt is out. Okay, so now let's get that third one. Okay, so there's actually 2 bolts here. One's for the AC condenser, one's for the water pump. If you're looking at it this way, the water pump bolt is a little bit further back and not as visible. This bolt right here, if you can see that, is for the AC compressor. Hopefully they'll give me, oh fuck. Okay, hopefully you guys were able to see that and I didn't knock the camera down already. But, so that third bolt is right up top here, you can see. So it's right below the condenser. So yeah, just make sure you're not undoing the condenser instead of the water pump. So with that free, now I'm hoping I can have better access to that hose clamp. Okay, not really. Not really, not any better. So I got this little flexible thing and it's got a 1/4 inch end on it, so I'm gonna try and see if I can finagle this guy to work, hopefully. Okay, yep, should be loosened enough, so I think I can probably pop this hose off. Hose has been loosened. Let's get this water pump bolt back out and get ready to drip some more coolant. Okay. Okay, here we go. It's coming. Oh. Okay. There we go. Got her. Okay. Whoa. Whoa. Okay. Water pump's out. Basically, I'm replacing this hose because I don't know if it's how old it is, if it's the original hose, but it's not going to hurt to replace it, so I went ahead and ordered a new one. This hose connects to a metal pipe, as you can see behind it, and it then connects to the engine block. Sorry, I'm trying to get some light here. Yeah, it's kind of hard to see, but it's behind the AC condenser. Yeah, so this hose is connected to the metal tube, the metal pipe, with a spring clamp. So I should be able to reach behind it and then move the clamp down and then pull the hose off. So let's do that. Alright, so here's my new hose. Here is the new clamp. So I'm going to go ahead and put this on the hose, and it's a really tight clamp. I'm going to go ahead and put these on, or put the clamp on the hose, and then I'm going to put the hose back onto that tube that goes to the engine block. Once I do that, then I can fit the water pump on. So here it is. Got it open. I'm just going to slide the hose on as far as I can. Oh man, this is definitely going to be a pain in the ass. Okay, so I'm just going to get it here on the corner, and I'm going to try and position it so where I can actually access it from the car, or from under the car. So here's the hose and the pipe. So I put that on. Now I gotta figure out how to get this clamp on. If it's too difficult, I might just switch to a regular hose clamp. But we'll see. Okay. So, like I said, I'm just gonna use a regular hose clamp. Again, I don't know why they feel the need to use that other style of clamp. But yeah, this is gonna be significantly easier to get to. So I took the front passenger side wheel off, and you can see there's a lot more room here. So there's my hose and my hose clamp, so I might position that so I can access it from here. I still don't think I have enough room to use that spring clamp that they supplied with the hose, but yeah, we'll see. Got the hose clamp on, the hose on and positioned. I've got the hose clamp positioned like so that I can access it through the wheel well and snug it up nice and tight. Okay, so like I said, you can see there's quite a bit of access when you take the rear wheel off, and it's definitely going to help make installation a lot easier. I should have taken it off earlier. It would have definitely helped with the removal. Okay, so yeah, I've got a pretty good, quite a bit of room here. Basically what I did was I clamped the hose clamp as far as I could get it, and then I took some metal wire and tried to tighten it as much as I can. So I'm gonna try and slip this on before this breaks, and then I should be able to just snip it out of the way. What I did was I slid the clamp on first onto the metal pipe, and then from there I was able to sort of slide it over onto the rubber hose. So I just gotta squeeze it a little bit tighter, and then I should be able to slide it where I need it to be. So I think I should be able to fit my pliers in here. So we'll see how that goes. All right, guys, so I guess that worked. You can see got that hose on. Clamp is right there, so it's accessible for in the future. The little cable tie thing, or wire, metal wire thing worked. That was really hard though. So now it's getting time to install the new water pump. I went ahead and bought a new hose, this guy right here, which attaches to the, connects the water pump to the thermostat. So I'm gonna go ahead and throw this hose on the new pump, and then we can put this bad boy in. All right, so let's unpack my new water pump. It's a Pureberg all metal pump. I think that one's all metal too, my old one. But yeah, so here's the pump. Made in 2021, it looks like. But yeah, so the comes with a water pump and then 3 brand new bolts as well, 3 brand new aluminum bolts. So yeah, I'm just going to position it exactly like the old pump, so then I can get the angles and everything just right. So yeah, just line up your tube, your hose, so it goes on like this. Got my hose clamp ready. Get your hose clamp on, and I'm just gonna position it, the hose exactly how the other one is. So yes, it's almost like in the way of this inlet. So yeah, that should be good. And then we can tighten up the clamp as well, the hose clamp, where it needs to be. So yeah, so this is these are OEM BMW clamps, and it uses 6 millimeter. Okay, so now with this new water pump ready to go, I'm going to go ahead and grab the bolts, and I'm going to thread them through just to at least hold it in place. And then I'm going to position, get into position and try to get that other hose that I just put on that goes to the engine block to the water pump outlet right here. So yeah, I'm going to get my hose clamp on the hose so that it's ready to go when I need it. Alright, I'm going to go ahead and push this hose in the back on already, since I have access to it, and it's going to be easier to get that hose on while I can still move the pump. Okay, the hose is mostly on, so let's go ahead and throw these bolts in. So I'm just gonna get these guys hand tight until I have all of them in, and then I'll torque them down. I believe it's 10 Newton meters is the torque, which equates to about 88 inch-pounds, I believe. Something along those lines. It's a really low torque, but you don't really need much for this. And plus they're aluminum bolts, so you don't want to over torque them. Oh, okay. Last bolt on top. Alright, all those bolts are in. Okay, so I got the water pump in. Got the 3 bolts in, 2 on the bottom right there, and then 1 on top. It's gonna be really hard to see, but it's up here. You'll see it when you take everything off. I've got that back hose on, or the outlet pipe from the water pump that goes to the engine block. I've got it on. I just need to get my hose clamp put in and tightened up, so I should have it here. Yep. So I have it right here, right there, so I'm just gonna tighten her up. That guy's not going anywhere. Okay, that hose clamp is on. Now I can go ahead and torque these, the water pump bolts on. Again, they are supposed to be torqued to 10 Newton meters, which is the equivalent of, let's see, water pump, 89 inch-pounds. Alright, torque wrench is set to 89 inch-pounds. So I'm gonna go ahead and torque the this top bolt first. Okay, 89 inch-pounds, water pump is good to go. So up next now, we've got, gotta throw the thermostat in. So, yeah, it'll probably be easiest to just do the hoses in the back first. I'm going to throw the thermostat in, get those lined up, get those hoses popped on. Make sure you got your clamps ready on the hose as well. And then once I'm there, I'll tighten those guys down, mount it to the water pump, and then get these front hoses on. So, making progress, boy! Alright, let's get this thermostat in. So, getting the hose clamps basically just prepped and ready to go so that I can stick these hoses on as I go. Alright, my hose clamps are all prepped. Figure out how this is oriented. Also gotta make sure I get these hoses out of the way. Okay, so I think, okay. So it faces like this. So I'm gonna go ahead and stick, yeah, this guy and this guy, right? This is the big hose, this is the smaller hose. So just gonna stick these guys in real quick then. Okay, so as you can see, I have access to that rear hose and hose clamp from the thermostat. So I'm going to tighten that guy down because it's kind of pulling the thermostat backwards away from the mounting hole. So I'm going to tighten it down real quick, and then just that way I can push it, mount the thermostat to the water pump, and then I'll connect this other hose that's right in front of us. Okay, let's try to get this hose situated. Make sure it's pushed up all the way. Okay. Hose is right there. Yeah, so you don't need to take off the passenger wheel, but as you can see, it provides quite a bit of clearance and would make things a lot easier for you, because then you can access these hose clamps a bit better. Okay, that's nice and tight, that should be fine. See if I can get this hose on real quick. Alright, I'm gonna try and bolt this guy up. Okay, the thermostat is now in place. Now all I have to do is secure this hose clamp on the side. So the way that I positioned it, it should be accessible either from the top. I can get it right here, or I can get it from over here, I believe. I'm gonna go ahead and push this hose down as far as I can. Make sure that hose is secure. Okay, the hose is on. Okay. I'm gonna go ahead and hold it from here, but I'm gonna tighten it from up top over here. Alright, so I got this f***ing hose clamp on now. Like I said, you can get a good viewing spot, viewing it from between the subframe. And I tightened it through here. So now all I have to do is put these clamps back in. You just line them up with the, there's some marks and divots and stuff on here. on the thermostat, so you can line it up pretty easily. And then you just push down on it, and it should be able to clip it in. Okay, that one's pushed on, and it's clipped and secured. I think I'm gonna route this through this pipe over here, so I'm gonna kind of lift this out of the way real quick. Get my wiring harness through the side, and then now I'm gonna go ahead and clip this guy in. So just, if your clips are not popped up, you'll have to pop them up then. So just use a flathead, or I just used a pick. So go ahead and lift your clips up, and then you should be able to push this hose in, and of course it's not going in. Ah! Okay, this f***ing hose is on now. So all you gotta do is slide the clip down, make sure it's all locked up, and we're good. Okay, water pump and thermostat are in. Okay, let's torque these thermostat bolts down. The torque spec is 80 inch-pounds. Okay, that's the front bolt. Now for the back bolt. Okay, that's it. Thermostat bolts are torqued down to 80 inch-pounds. So let's go ahead and plug these guys in real quick. I'm gonna plug the water pump in, like so. Okay, got that plugged in. And we'll plug in the thermostat right here, like so. Okay. And she's in. Make sure this snaps into place. Okay. With your water pump all installed and all the hose clamps on, everything looks good. All your wiring harnesses are on and all that stuff. It's time to start putting stuff back together. So I'm going to go ahead and bolt up this sway bar first, and we're going to torque these bolts to 16 foot-pounds. And then we'll get the power steering bracket back on, and then lastly this coolant hose. And these 3 bolts right here. So let's go ahead and get this sway bar back on. Okay, let me just zip these guys on real quick. And ideally these should be torqued with the car on the ground. So I'm just gonna tighten them up, but I'm not gonna torque them yet. So now that that is on, I can go ahead and put this 10 millimeter bolt back on for the power steering bracket. So this bracket is just gonna go slip underneath the bar. Oh, got it. Once you manage to find the bolt hole, go ahead and tighten her up. Again, it helps if you have a ratcheting 10 millimeter wrench, but I do not, so just gonna have to deal with it. Not gonna put any real torque on it, and okay, she's good. It's not going anywhere. Alright. So now we can, I'm gonna snip this zip tie that I had on earlier, and we can bolt down these, the power steering lines. Alright, I'm gonna go ahead and cut my zip tie that's been holding my power steering line out of the way. Could probably put it in there. Okay. Alright, so those are there. I'll grab my 22mm wrench and all of these nuts. We'll just throw these guys on there real quick. So I've got my 22mm wrench for the rubber bushing things, and then my 10mm socket. Okay, that's good. These aren't to be crazy tight or anything, just they're lock nuts, so they just need to be tight enough. Okay, those are good. So, last but not least, we'll get this coolant pipe bolted up. So it's just these three holes right here. I got 1, 2, and then 3 up here on this corner. Okay, so again, these also don't have any real torque spec to them, just tight enough. It's fine. Okay, that's good. Alright, so that's all tightened up now. So all we have to do is just, basically we're going to put the radiator fan and the shroud back in, and then we'll start working from the top. So if you're ever wondering what direction the shroud goes in, just look on the side that has the connection for your wiring harness, which for me at least is on this side. So on each side of the shroud, this tab that you gotta kind of like clip on, that side should just slide into place. And then on the passenger side you have these these 2 tabs that are going to slide onto the side of the radiator. So just kind of be aware of those. And then you also have 2 bottom tabs right here. One there and one here, which are going to mount to the bottom portion of the radiator. Okay, I think everything's lined up. The hardest part's going to be just making sure that your those bottom tabs are lined up properly as well. They seem like they're good. So let's go ahead and throw that other screw that's right here on this side. It's going to be a T25 right here. Okay, that's nice and secure, so now we can go ahead and let's get that coolant pipe plugged in. So yeah, we're going to be installing a new post clamp since I had to cut up that other one. It was a single-use clamp. So this is going to the upper inlet of the radiator from the oil filter housing. So let's go ahead and get a clamp on here, and this there's a little plastic kind of hard line in the center of these two hoses, and they just clip onto the radiator fan shroud, whatever you want to call it. So let's go ahead and plug this guy in here. Okay, whoop. Right on the nipple. This guy clipped in here as well. Okay. And then we'll get my the harness that goes to the radiator fan. We'll get that plugged in, just like so. Okay. Let's go ahead and tighten up this clamp here. Should be good. So now we can go ahead and install this guy just on the hose, or this hose on the coolant reservoir. Just pops on like that, and then make sure you hit your clip. Now with all of our hoses and connections in place, we can now put the little shroud back on with the two screws right here. So I've got my shroud right here, and let's go ahead and just pop her on. Just make sure your holes are all lined up, and should be good to screw that on. T20. So that's it. Now all we need to do is fill it up with a half and half mixture of coolant and distilled water, and I'll probably pop the bleeder screw while I'm filling it up just to get help facilitate the bleeding process. But yeah, we're basically gonna have to run the bleeding program from inside of the vehicle, which I'll show you here in a second. Okay, currently got the car charging on my trickle charger, just for the fact that the car is going to be on for about 15-20 minutes while the system goes through the coolant bleeding process. So I'm going to walk you guys through that, but first I'm going to fill up the reservoir with coolant. So I have a bunch of pre-mixed 50/50 BMW antifreeze. So let's go ahead and pour it in. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and pop the bleeder screw as well, right here. Jeez, fucking tight. So some of that air can make its way out. Okay, the screws there. Let's go ahead and pour some coolant in. As I'm filling it, I'm periodically checking the little level bobber thing, see where I'm at. Okay, that should be good. We're gonna lose a bunch once we start running the bleeding process. So it should be plenty for now. So let's go ahead and tighten this guy up. Let's go ahead and close this for now. So we're going to go ahead and do the bleeding procedure to get coolant flowed and get all the air out of the system. So we're going to go ahead and stick the key in. And we're going to start the car with your foot off the brake and the clutch. So we're just turning on the accessory mode. And I'm going to turn the heat on to maximum. And we're going to set the fan to the lowest. Oops. Okay, that's all set correctly. And then we're going to hold the gas pedal for 10 seconds. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Okay. And I think we should start hearing the water pump kind of pumping fluid through. Yep. Okay, so you can hear it pumping fluid through the system. So that's good. Not seeing any leaks so far. So this process is gonna take a bit. So I'm just gonna be hanging out here watching for leaks. And it should be done in about 15-20 minutes or so. Okay, the water pump has stopped pumping, and just kind of looking around for leaks and stuff. So we should be good to go. I'm gonna turn off the car real quick and let the battery charge. Now that the bleeding process is done, we're gonna go ahead and add some more coolant. Yeah, this thing's completely dry. So definitely need to add more coolant. Let's crack my bleeder screw. So once you verify that there's no leaks under the car, everything's tightened up, we can go ahead and get the under the belly pan all bolted up and all the other stuff that you removed. Get that all put back together and go for a drive. You can access the secret menu on the dash and just monitor the water temp. But yeah, you should be good to go. The system should be bled. Anyways, hopefully that was helpful for you guys. Thanks for watching. Peace.